Against these industry headwinds, SPH has held out longer than most. In fact, SPH's overall reach and readership has never been higher. SPH paper's total circulation has grown by 5% from 2017 to 2020. In fact, within this period, the Straits Times print and digital circulation has grown by about 20%. SPH has also made significant investments of about $50 million a year for the last 5 years to build digital capabilities and grow its readership. Their challenge today stems from an inability to monetize their gains in attracting and retaining readers on digital platforms. Despite rising readership, SPH's media business has been steadily losing revenue. SPH announced last week that its media business had lost half its operating revenue in the past 5 years and posted its first ever loss of $11.4 million in 2020. And that loss would have been deeper without the government's JSS grant. Looking ahead, SPH expects these trends to persist and widen. Print advertising revenue will continue falling as media consumption progressively shifts online. Rising digital advertising revenue will not compensate for the fall in print advertising revenue. And there is limited scope to grow digital subscriptions given our small domestic market and the global competition. These secular trends are undeniable. They affect SPH, MediaCorp, and the global media industry. And the adverse effects will be compounded by the lingering economic impact of COVID-19, with businesses cutting ad spending and consumers reluctant to pay for content. SPH has been under persistent pressure to account to shareholders for the anemic financial performance of its media business. Hence, the company has implemented several cost-cutting and retrenchment exercises in recent years. But SPH has assessed that any further cuts would impair its ability to maintain quality journalism. SPH has also spoken of its constraints as a listed company to make significant and sustained investments in their digital and newsroom capabilities, which may not yield near-term payoffs. Hence, under the current structure, there is a serious risk that SPH's media capabilities will be hollowed out. Without sustained investment in capacity building and a digital pivot, its quality and circulation will fall, and this in turn will worsen financials and cause further disinvestment. And the immediate pressure will inevitably be on our vernacular papers, some with relatively small circulations, which would have a profound detrimental impact on the multiracial fabric of our society. The government must take a long-term view and adopt measures to secure the sustainability of our local media. The government, therefore, carefully studied the proposal from SPH. SPH proposes to restructure and transfer the ownership of its media business to a company limited by guarantee. It will first form a new subsidiary, transfer the media-related businesses and properties to the subsidiary, and capitalize the subsidiary with $80 million of cash and $30 million worth of SPH shares and REITs. Subsequently, if SPH shareholders give their approval, this subsidiary will be transferred to the CLG. The CLG will be separate from the listed company, no longer run by the SPH management. It will operate as a revenue-seeking business subject to the usual commercial disciplines. However, any operating surplus will be plowed back into the media business rather than distributed to shareholders as dividends. In that sense, it will be not-for-profit to the members of the CLG. This concept of a CLG run with commercial discipline is not new for us. There are several examples, including our universities, the Esplanade, and Gardens by the Bay. SPH's proposal is not a panacea for the challenges faced by its news media business, but it is an essential first step if the media business is to adapt to the digital and commercial realities of the industry. The government, therefore, supports SPH's restructuring proposal and is willing to provide funding support to the CLG. Let me summarize our thinking. So, a high-quality and trusted national media with an instinctive understanding of our national interests and constraints is essential to Singapore. Throughout our history, the government has aimed to develop and sustain such a media industry in Singapore. However, the current SPH model of a news media business within a listed company is no longer viable. While the media business's traditional revenue streams are declining sharply, significant investments are needed to build digital and other capabilities for the longer term. A company limited by guarantee is one model to remove the news media business from the constraints of a listed company, while the news business under the CLG invests in strategic imperatives. But the CLG will still have to find new sources of funding to meet the expected financial shortfalls in the news business. The government is willing to help fund the proposed CLG while ensuring fiscal discipline and accountability in areas like digital innovation and capability development as part of a long-term sustainable business plan. We already have a similar financing model with MediaCorp, our core national broadcaster, which has been working well. Having such national broadcasters, newspaper publishers, and online news platforms is a public good that benefits the whole of society. Although the business and financing model will change, the government does not intend nor expect this to affect the relationship between MCI and the SPH newsroom. The government is mindful that our local news media must remain credible institutions that are trusted by Singaporeans, and that it remains the responsibility of the editors and journalists in SPH media to report news and diverse opinions objectively and from a Singaporean point of view.